Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff. Today we're talking about the 1989 comedy, The Burbs.
Okay, BJ, isn't this podcast fun? I mean, we've been at this for a few months, and I'm enjoying it. I think this is fun. And this movie, The Burbs, this is we wanted to watch a different movie, but we got bored of all our options, I guess, or didn't work out. But this is a fun one. Um, so what did you think of The Burbs?
Um, let me set the scene for the audience here. So, January was kind of a rough month for the podcast. I had put a few hours into our episode on Princess Mononoke, and I screwed up, and I was frustrated. So, like, okay, I'm gonna come back later. So I saved, and I came back to it later. I'm like, oh wait, by saving it, I made it so I couldn't go back and undo my mistake. So I had to start over. So the plan after that was initially, okay, we're just gonna watch something else, and we're gonna do like a little short review, like what we did for Tron, and that will be our backup plan. And then I caught a cold with a sore throat, so I couldn't talk. So that killed that idea. And thankfully, Jeff had been sort of on the side, kind of working on the thing.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World, which was our last release before this episode. Well, in the recording.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think there's 2 episodes between the thing and now.
Yeah.
We did Prince Mononoke and the Rocketeer. So, so after that, Jeff sends me a text and he's like, I'm not really feeling the movie that we were going to watch because it was Jeff's turn to pick, and he had kind of chosen something for us to hate watch.
Yeah.
So he asked me if there was anything I really wanted to watch. I'm like, no, it's your turn. Is there something that you absolutely want to watch? And he's like, yeah, let's watch The Burbs. That's on Netflix. I'm like, oh, okay.
Because you've never seen it? You've seen it before, right?
No, I had seen The Burbs before, yes, and I I don't think I shared this at the time, or obviously since you seem very excited about this, but I don't really like The Burbs.
The truth comes out.
I literally remembered one scene from the movie, and after rewatching the movie, I believe the reason why I remember just the one scene is because that is pretty much the only scene that made me laugh.
Really? I was not expecting that answer from you. I was not expecting it at all. I thought you would have liked The Burbs. I've never met anyone that hasn't liked the movie, but I have met people who didn't really have an opinion at all, or had never seen it. It's not a movie that everybody's seen. But yeah, to not like it, that's weird. It's a little weird, BJ. It's a little weird. But it'll be interesting to talk about.
If you look at the metric scores, it generally ranks about a C, so I don't think it's as popular as you think it is. It was pretty popular among our little friend group, along with some other kind of off-the-wall comedies, but turns out not really my cup of tea.
Really? Okay. This is all educational for me.
I say hi. I didn't want to say this before because you seem pretty excited to watch The Burbs. I'm like, oh no. If I say I don't like The Burbs, he's going to change his mind again. And we're already like, at this point, we'd already changed plans like 15 times. Like, okay, so Jeff can watch the movie. Is like, I'll live through it again and we can talk about it.
Well, and I don't think we know whether people want to hear us say terrible negative things about movies, but we're probably going to do it eventually anyway. But yeah, the movie we were going to watch was Armageddon, which is one of the movies I hate the most out of all films.
And please note, audience, that was Jeff's choice to attempt to watch a movie that he hated. So
yeah, but it's long. It's really long. That's a lot of work to watch a movie you don't like that's that long.
The Burbs seemed pretty long, and I watched it last night, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, BJ. So you, I'm guessing, do not recommend The Burbs. Is this correct?
I mean, it's for me. It's always hard to say I don't recommend something, especially when it comes to comedy, because everyone has their own taste of comedy and whatnot. But yeah, unfortunately, like 95% of the Burbs just didn't hit for me. So I guess if you're a fan of the only way I can think to describe it is sort of like awkward comedy, then then this movie would work for you. But if you're not, you might want to skip it. As for me, I would probably skip it.
Okay, another question then.
Yep.
Are you, in general, a fan of awkward comedy?
No,
No. Which,
because if I was, I would like the Burbs, wouldn't I?
yeah, I guess so. So, you don't like any comedies that are all built around awkwardness? Not
No,
really.
it's awkward.
It's awkward. You don't find awkward funny. You find
I
it
mean,
just awkward, right?
I mean, maybe in small doses it works, but when like the entire movie is built around, oh, here's these man children who, they blah blah blah, and this guy was in the military, and that's his shtick, and this guy, his wife's not home, so he goes to his neighbor's house and eats all his food and spins these crazy conspiracy theories and blah blah blah, and
Okay.
if that's your cup of tea, that's cool. That's fine. You can like what you like, but
What
I
is an
know-
example of a comedy that is for you?
I
That you
mean,
would like?
like Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters. That's not really awkward comedy. That's more funny comedy.
Okay. Trying to think of a single awkward scene in Ghostbusters. There's probably plenty, really. But yeah, I get that. It seems like Ghostbusters is completely a movie that's set up in order for Bill Murray to deliver a funny line once in a while, and Ray too. It's like the scenes are just there so that one simple line can be funny. So I get that.
And like I said, I think awkward comedy can work in small doses, and you can tell me if you disagree with me on this, but seems like the majority of the Burbs is built around sort of awkward comedy. Would you agree,
I
disagree?
would agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I like awkward comedy. It probably appeals to me more than most other comedies. And comedy is about things that are wrong in the right way. It's the best way to describe comedy. And so, awkwardness is just such a big part of laughter and of all that. To say that awkward comedy doesn't work for you, that's got to like really slice out a lot of entertainment out of your list of things to watch, right? That's huge.
Well, I think I just edited Rocketeer, so I know this. I mentioned in the past that I don't like a lot of like sitcoms and stuff. I think sitcoms also rely on a lot of awkward comedy. So
Yeah.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, okay. That's all right. There's always Godzilla movies. So, okay then. So you don't
movies
like...
aren't awkward at all.
They're not awkward.
this is awkward. I don't know. I know. Definitely awkward telling you, this movie you're super excited to watch. I don't like it, but I watched it anyway.
Huh. So you don't like The Office, right? Haven't probably even seen it. I bet you haven't seen it.
I've never sat down to watch it. It's been
I knew it.
playing on the TV at my job a few times, which is unfortunately where I get exposed to most of my sitcoms. And
You are forced to watch sitcoms. That's great.
Maybe it'd be different if I, knew the characters or whatnot, but in the small 15-minute doses I've seen of The Office, how do I phrase this so we don't lose what little audience we have left?
You just didn't like it.
It didn't work, yeah.
That's fine.
Sorry,
It is
everyone else in
okay.
the world that likes The Office. I know I'm like the one person among billions and billions of people who didn't like The Office, but yes, hi, that's me.
Yeah,
Hello.
I think that's probably an accurate assessment. You are the one person
I am
among
the one.
billions
I
that
will.
don't like it.
I will be the one. Starring Jet Li.
You'll be the one
Not a
starring
great
Jet
action
Li.
movie. That
Oh wow. Yeah, I have not seen that. Okay, so
it's not great.
it's not great. It's not great. So we should definitely watch it sometime. Huh. All right. So I am going to give my recommendation. I do recommend this movie, despite BJ's influence. I must stand on my own with my own opinion. I think it's a great movie. It's a good sit down and watch. It's not really great for little kids because it's more of a older person comedy, and I like it. It's about people living a simple life in suburbia and how they are. There are people who everything is so normal that it's almost like they're looking for it to be different. And so I enjoy it. I think it's well written. The scenes are well paced. It goes from point to point in the storyline, and it keeps people in enough suspense where the audience gets fooled as to what's going on sufficiently enough at a good time. So it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah, and people are probably going to laugh maybe a couple of times through it, but overall it's just an entertaining comedy where it's just fascinating to sit and watch. Anyway, we'll probably edit most of that comment out because that didn't really make any sense. Let me do it again. We'll just scratch that whole thing. No.
Too late.
Too late. Too late. Once it's spoken, it's forever.
It's in.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, watch The Burbs. It's a good movie. I've watched it since I saw it many decades ago when I was a teen. It was great. It's different now that I've watched it as a grown up. Movies are so different after you change into another stage of life. Movies are going to be different again, you realize, BJ, because when we get another few decades roll around, everything's going to appear different all over again. I feel like that. So you watch a movie as a kid, and it's completely different experience.
When we're like 70 years old, we're on like episode 700 of the Wandering Tangent podcast, so I have like 3 listeners.
Only 3 listeners.
One of these days, I'm going to make you watch episode 9.
I will still, by then, have not seen episode 9. Yeah.
No, I'm going to pull the trigger on that sooner or later. Probably later.
Probably. I guess I will live in fear of that moment.
You never know.
Okay.
Get back at you for making me watch The Burbs again.
It's good for you to get another try to like the movie.
Oh yeah, it felt real good. I was like, oh, still have an hour of this to go. I haven't done that since I'm not saying this. Okay, I'm not saying this to compare it to the Star Wars Holiday Special because the Star Wars Holiday Special has no redeeming value. This one just wasn't my style of comedy, so I'm not saying this in comparing the two, but I hadn't watched the timer on the movie, like how much time was left, that hard since I watched the Holiday Special. Not that the two are comparable, just as someone who isn't a fan of awkward comedy, this hurt to watch.
So it's worse than what you described. It's not that you just didn't like it. You really had a miserable experience watching this movie.
Like I said, I appreciate the fact that there's people who like this style of comedy. I just happen to not be one of them. But yeah, I pulled the view. I did this on easy mode. I was doing other things while watching this movie. I didn't like invest myself in the torture as hard as I did for the Holiday Special. I started taking notes, but I got like 3 lines in. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even interested enough to take notes.
Okay. Well, let's go into spoilers then and talk about this, and we can discuss what you don't like, which is probably all of it. But okay.
So, I will read to you. I have exactly 5 lines of notes.
Okay, and now we're officially in
Yes,
the
we are.
spoiler section of this podcast. Okay. Go ahead. Read your
I will
notes.
read you the 5 lines of notes. First line is, I've seen this movie before, and the only thing I remember is the Ray, I think this is Walter scene. Note number 2, isn't that the house for Mr. Boogedy? Note number 3, less than 5 minutes in and we got a dog pooping. Joy. Note number 4, the spoof on the Once Upon a Time from the West theme as they walk up to the neighbor's door is kind of funny, I guess. And note number 5, the Ray, I think this is Walter scene. I think this is Walter's scene is pretty much the only scene I remembered because it is the only scene that made me laugh. And that was my last note.
Okay, you admit that you did laugh once, at least
Yes.
at one point in which you watched this movie. Probably not in viewing it this previous time, but probably long ago when you first saw it, you laughed at that scene.
Yes, because that scene it's not awkward, it's just extremely random because with the camera zooming in and out and you're just looking at the bones screaming, it's just so out of left field that it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. And for those who haven't seen it, which is probably almost nobody, yeah, it's this really great scene where they're being drawn in with slow music, slow mysterious music, and they find this bone in their backyard that the dog has found from digging under the fence, and they look at it and it looks like a human bone, and now they're completely suspicious of their neighbors, and it's this quiet somber moment, and he looks at the bone and he goes, Ray, this is Walter, and the camera like zooms in and out very quickly as they scream, and it's completely out of place. It's almost like breaking the movie. It's like breaking the third wall almost. Not quite, but it gets close to that. But it's just so well placed that it even can make BJ laugh, of all things. Now that's an achievement.
Do you mean the fourth wall?
The fourth? What do I mean? Third wall?
You said the third wall. Fourth
Oh.
wall, because breaking the fourth wall is that you're breaking the wall that the camera represents. You're breaking the third wall. You're breaking like one of the walls in the scene. That you're messing up your metaphors here.
Oh, whatever. Metaphors are overrated. Yeah, fourth, fifth, sixth wall. One of those walls.
The sixth wall.
Yeah, one of the walls.
You're in the Twilight Zone. You're in the sixth wall.
Multiple dimensions are being broken. Okay.
You control the vertical and the horizontal. That's not Twilight Zone. That's the outer limits. Don't mind me.
Okay. All right. So let me tell you what I like more about what I like about this movie. So everyone in this movie is typical in a somewhat exaggerated way. And the main character, who's Ray, that is his name, right?
Yeah, Ray, played by Tom Hanks.
Yes, played by Tom Hanks. He's such a normal guy, but he gets drawn in by his friend. And, what's the name of his friend?
Art.
Art, thank you. Yeah, Art. So, and his friend is hilarious. Everything he does, he has this personality where he just doesn't understand what he's doing. He just doesn't have any kind of like introspective way of judging himself. So he just kind of like does things, and it's hilarious. It's funny. He's a great character.
So I think that's the primary breaking point for me, is that I rarely found Art funny. So yeah. So when your main source of comedy in the comedy, you don't find funny, that's bad if the person doesn't find the source of the comedy funny.
Isn't it funny? The first thing that we see him do is he's trying to hunt birds because his wife told him to get rid of the birds. And he comes into the house, like he sees him, he nearly hits his neighbor, and he goes, "Oh, hey, are you eating in there?" And it's just such a well-delivered line. It's one of the lines that we often quote Not with you, but with, other people.
Apparently, it's like obviously not.
Yeah, obviously, if I would have, I might have picked up on the fact you didn't like this movie.
Because otherwise, by now you're like, oh wait, BJ doesn't like the Burbs. I guess that's why he keeps glaring at me when I quoted at him.
What are you eating in there? That's the line. Such a good line. It's not, what are you eating in there? What are you eating in there?
Need to rewatch this Star Wars sequel movies to find stuff to quote at you, because I know you're going to start quoting the Burbs and me know. Now you know I don't like it just to annoy me. Need to find stuff to counter with.
From what, the Star Wars sequel?
Yeah, Star Wars prequels. I'll like find lines from like the gambling planet where they free the not horses. I'm sure there's some cheesy lines there I can throw at you that will make you want to kill me.
Wait a minute. Do you actually like
No.
No. See, that's not a completely the same situation, because now you're quoting a movie that we both hate, which means we're both miserable at the same time. See, to be fair, you would have to find a movie I hate and that you like, and then you would have to quote it frequently.
The problem is I haven't found it yet. We now have two movies that you like that I don't. We have The Burbs and we have Star Trek Motion Picture. I have yet to find a movie that I like that you don't.
It's kind of be one. I don't like Armageddon.
I'm not a big fan of
Armageddon. Love a movie
either.
Like that. Yeah, see? Oh, goodness.
Yeah. I have a couple of ideas to throw at you, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to pull that trigger yet.
Well, you'll have to find something. Some movie that I hate that you love, just, to make things even.
I'm trying to keep it a positive experience for everyone, and you're not.
Okay. I like awkward, BJ. I like awkward situations. They're hilarious and funny and entertaining.
I like awkward situations. I like awkwardly long special effect shots.
And awkwardly long podcasts. Everything is great when it's awkward. Silence follows that statement.
The only awkwardly long episode we have is the one that killed our prototype run, which is a lost episode I hope never has to see the light of day.
Oh, you mean Willow?
Yeah, because wasn't it like almost 3 hours long?
Yeah. What kind of weirdos talk about the movie Willow for 3 hours?
I don't know, but...
That is like inhuman.
I got like... I think I got like half hour deep in ending that, and I just looked at the amount of time left. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this.
No.
And then we stopped working on the podcast for like a year.
Yeah. Wow.
That's some deep lore for you folks.
Yeah.
We both like Willow, but boy howdy did we mess up talking about it.
Big time. All right, so I have to mention a couple of things real quick before the time goes too far along here. There's one thing in this movie that I think might be kind of a glitch in the story. Something that doesn't make sense. And it's when Art is his first big scene where he's eating in their kitchen, and he tells them that the family next door moved away and that he was in contact with the realtor. And the realtor told them that this family, the Klopeks, they had a house previously and it burned down, which is strange. We're already getting strange things introduced about the Klopeks. And what doesn't make sense with that is that later on in the end, they say that they actually had done in the family that lived there in order to get their house. So, am I wrong? Do those not completely add up? If they took over the house, then why was there a realtor? How was there a realtor even involved if they just kind of like usurped themselves into the home and basically stole it? You know what I mean?
There's a couple of ways around that. There's option A, where after the Klopeks killed the neighbors, they staged the selling of the house to make it look more legitimate that they moved in.
How could they have done that though? How could they get a realtor to do that? The realtor would, I guess you would have two realtors, so maybe they had somebody pose as the other realtor or something.
Well,
Weird, very weird. Okay, but I guess that is somewhat plausible. Okay, go ahead.
wait, so what's throwing you off that they sold their old house or they bought the house next to Ray? I'm
Okay, so
confused
what
about what you're
happened?
confused about.
Okay, so in the story at the beginning, towards the beginning of the movie, you learn that the Klopeks, they had a previous house, but it burned down.
Yeah,
And so they got a realtor, and then they bought this house. But then in the
yeah,
end of the movie, when he's confessing to Ray about his crime, he says that the Knapps, the previous family, that they had killed them all to steal the house.
yeah. So a
So
criminal master, a criminal mastermind can't like stage the selling of a house,
I guess he
or
must
there's
have. He must have staged it, and in order to stage that, he would have needed a realtor, like another
yeah.
realtor. So he basically found another realtor,
Wait, no. Why? What?
or had somebody pose as one, right? Because
Why do you think there has to be why? Why does it have to be two people to sell the house?
well, normally you would have a realtor representing the buyer and the seller of a house. You have two realtors, one for each side, and then
Okay.
they interact with
So
each other in order to sell the property. And
okay.
so
Yeah.
you
So
had one realtor, but
yeah.
the other family was dead. So they
Yeah.
okay.
So the okay. So yeah. So they could have hired two different realtors and sold the house themselves, or there's option B: that Art is a lying idiot and he just made up the story.
Okay. It could be that he just exaggerates everything. Yeah, and that kind of would work with his character too, of because he's always constantly exaggerating everything. But I don't know if he completely makes things up. He just kind of like goes off the deep end. Okay, it's not a big deal. I'm trying to figure it out. I guess there could have been ways that they could have pulled it off, but so that a realtor knew and that the house was in fact transferred into their name. That way, nobody could somehow audit and find out they weren't the owners or anything like that. Because that could be a red flag too. And he's a smart guy. He's trying to get away with these crimes. So, yeah, I get that. That probably works.
I'm just
Is that
over here shaking my head like you can see it.
like anything we just said matters? Well, it just I never thought about it, and I wanted to figure it out. Okay, so let me ask you some tough questions then. BJ, which character in this movie are you most like?
I'm I'm just the guy. I'm Walter. I'm the guy down the street just shakes my head at people. Like, what are you people doing?
Walter.
I don't know. Here, I'm gonna turn this around you. Who do you think I'm the most like?
Okay. I think you probably be more like Ray. I think you're the more normal person that just has less normal people around that kind of try to push you along with things, but you're always more
Like,
centered in reality.
yeah, like I don't know. Have a screwball friends wants to do a podcast or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that. A podcast in this day and age. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? When I watch movies, I sort of think like I try to think about comparing myself to characters, and I think usually there's always like a little component of characters that I kind of like see a little bit in myself, not like a lot, but a little bit because one of the things I like about this movie is how get people get drawn into suspicion, and it's something that a lot of people do a lot, where they see something that's not quite ordinary and they just kind of like get highly suspect of it until they get, wildly strange ideas. And people do that all the time with things they read and watch. And I think it's funny in this movie that they're all suspicious of this family, and it's strange how it ends up being true, which is kind of a twist. But everything they do in investigating this family is just extreme things that people shouldn't do, suspicious things that they shouldn't assume about other people. And the Klopeks are odd and strange, but none of that really warrants what they do. They sneak around their property, and I don't know. What do you think?
So what you're saying is that I'm lucky that you and mutual friend never blew up my house trying to dig up bodies in the basement.
Sure, I guess.
You can't really do that around here because, like, I don't know. I mean, you think it'd be the same everywhere, but like, what basement has like a dirt floor, right?
Well, it's a really old house. A really old house would have a dirt floor.
Like the one for Mr. Boogedy is what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, that house, it
like,
looked
did it
like...
not look like the house from Mr. Boogedy? I'm trying to make up movies I like.
Well, look, it's a house from
conversation.
like that house in the movie was from like 1910 to 1920. It's older than most houses. Like it's so old it could be 1890s. Could be an 1890s large house. It was really old. So any house that has a dirt basement, it's probably in a house that old.
Okay, do you have evidence to back this up, or is this just your head canon?
This is my head bazooka that can blast this away. Yeah, that house is way old. It's probably the oldest house on the block, because the rest of the houses are newer.
It's a cul-de-sac. How can one house be that much older?
It's plausible. Could be that they just built a house on a street, and then that house was like attached to a farm, and then the farm was sold, and the other houses were just plopped in. I don't know. But it doesn't... You're right, though. It's not normal in a neighborhood for you to have a house that's from 1910 surrounded by houses that are built in the 1970s. It doesn't work. But it doesn't matter because they wanted in the story to have one creepy house. And old houses like that are creepy, which is why Mr. Boogedy uses houses from that time period.
I feel like you're trying to convince me that, this movie's actually okay, but instead what you're doing is that you're just making it harder for me to suspend my disbelief.
Well, manipulation can work sometimes, right? I can manipulate people into liking a movie. Or not. I don't know. The point is, you're the one who brought up that it was old. And it looked like Mr. Boogedy's house. That came from you.
The only thing I mentioned was, why is the basement dirt? You're the one that went off on this amazing headcanon tangent on, it's from it's from like the 1910s or maybe like the 1890s because it was like attached to a farm or something. Don't you lay that on me. That was you driving off in the distance. That wasn't me that started that.
All right.
All I said was that, isn't it weird that the floor was dirt in the basement?
Well, it is weird. Okay, it is. I will concede. It is a weird thing that people would be digging up dirt in a basement. But I think that, I don't know, now I have to do research on old houses. I think old basements had dirt in them. But, yeah, interesting.
Okay, I feel as though I've done enough dunking on this movie, so...
Because okay, now I have to bring up this point. Okay,
boy.
Arsenic and Old Lace, very old classic movie. In that movie, the basement was dirt. So, I'm not a huge expert on basements, but I do think very old basements from early 20th century often had dirt in them. I think. But I'll have to look into that and probably never really get back to this in the podcast because we're only recording this once. But I'm theorizing that I'm probably right. Obviously, that was the most important thing that we should talk about in relation to this movie. Okay, if your neighbor had gone missing, BJ, and you were worried about him, would you break into their house to check on them?
I would probably call the police, do a welfare check if I thought they were hurt or something.
Yeah, well, you're right. I guess that's the right answer. Yeah, you would never actually want to go do that. So no, all these people acted irrationally. It's true. But this is the early...
I turned the trap upon yourself. Ha ha!
When was this movie made? This is like late 80s.
1989.
1989. things were different back then. People thought differently. Going into your neighbor's house to check on them, it's definitely a wrong thing to do, but I don't know. Might be kind of a thing in the 80s that people might do. I don't know. It was a different time.
Didn't you and mutual friend try breaking my house once?
Breaking? No.
Well,
I certainly will not say yes to that question for any reason, but even if I did, I'd oh, no, I never broke into your house. And no, you shouldn't be fingerprinting the windows. No.
Well, not break in, but you definitely, from what I recall, you guys wanted to go somewhere, but I was not feeling good in the bathroom, and I heard the doorbell ring. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just ignore them. They'll go away after a while. But you guys did not go away after a while.
That was so you. You would stand us up so many times. We'd get there and all right, we're here for BJ, and then no answer. I guess that's BJ's way of saying no.
There was no plan. You guys just appeared at my house. I wasn't feeling good. I was in the bathroom, not feeling good. So I couldn't come answer the door anyway. So I'm like, okay, so when I don't answer the door, they'll catch the hint. But didn't you guys say that you jumped the fence to try the back doors or something?
I don't remember anything like that.
I could have sworn you guys said you did that.
No, not. That must be other people that you were associating with.
Yes.
What age are we talking about here? Is this
It might have been late high school or just after high school. It was a pretty long time ago. Must have been pre-cell phones, otherwise you guys just would have been calling and bugging me.
Nope. Sorry. Very boring ending to that conversation. Nope, never happened.
Yes, it never happened. This story told, yeah, we were knocking on your door for a half hour when you didn't answer. We tried knocking on the windows and stuff. And
we do knock on windows, though. But okay. those, you don't have to climb a fence to knock on a window. We would sometimes knock on windows, especially the window wells, because we were trying to hunt you down. The window well knocking was a definite thing that happened a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, guess what? Newsflash, genius. The window well in my room is in the backyard.
Well, we wouldn't knock on that one. We'd knock on the front ones.
Well, obviously we did knock on that one.
What is
the one in the room you would have been? No, we wouldn't have done that.
I'm glad that you brought this up, because this movie is all about being paranoid about other people.
You guys told me you did this.
You guys have completely exhibited exactly what the theme of this movie is, was being paranoid about other people.
You guys told me you did this, and now you're flatly denying it.
I don't think we ever said that.
Yes, you did.
No, totally fake.
You totally did.
Okay, where's your evidence? Where's your proof?
Oh no, where's the evidence of you guys? Then again, I am talking the same person who claims that I hit someone in the school parking lot, and then I don't remember it for some reason.
Hit a person?
That's what you. That's what you claimed.
What? I never claimed that you hit.
Yes, you did. You and your selective memory up in here, dude. Holy crap.
We in a different universe suddenly? No. Is this that episode from Star Trek where Worf suddenly in a different place? Are you the same BJ? Yes. Or how many BJs are there, really?
I am Legion.
I am Legion. We are many. We are many BJs.
No, you and mutual friend, you not hit, but that's. I was idling through the school parking lot after a football game or something, and I remember that someone walked down in front of me that I almost hit someone. You and mutual friend claimed that I tapped them or something, and I possibly denied it because I remember that and would have felt real bad about it.
No, I don't know if you really. I think I do kind of remember something about someone you walked in front of the vehicle and you had to slam.
You do kind of.
I kind of remember, but
I kind of remember claiming that, but not really.
They walked away, so I don't think they were hit. In fact, they probably should have been watching where they were going or something. You
and mutual friends told someone that I hit them, and I'm like, what? No, I didn't.
Oh, Obviously, you need therapy from this. Lots of it.
Obviously,
Like
obviously,
many sessions.
obviously, we need mutual friend here to be like the arbiter because I could have sworn you people told me this, and it, and either I'm hallucinating or you have like active memory loss.
I'm good. My memory has got to be flawless. Otherwise, I would know. Okay, BJ?
Is that what someone with active memory loss would say? I'm not mad, says the madman.
I don't know what else to say that. I don't remember. I do not know. I do not recall. I need an attorney. I do not know. I needed. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you had hit someone with your car, that probably would have been like a big, huge burning memory into our brains. I think we would have known that better than anything else in high school.
That's why.
That would have been a big
That's
thing.
why
So
I
don't
was
think that
utterly
happened.
shocked when you and mutual friend claimed that I did. I was like, what? I would have remembered that.
Huh. Yeah, okay.
Do we need to like get mutual friends to like record a side note on this? We can splice it in.
I don't know. We should
As to
include him
whether or not you
sometime,
remember
but when we
these
do,
things
we should not change his name. We should keep it as mutual friend from now on. Like, his name doesn't exist. You're called mutual friend. Welcome, mutual friend. Our guest star, mutual friend, is here.
Well, we just don't want to. People who know us will likely know who we are referring to, but until such a time that he agrees to have his name mentioned, we do not want to mention his name in relation to this product for his own protection.
Yeah, against
because
the boss.
he doesn't want to be associated with this nonsense.
Exactly. Okay. Now, did that tangent crash completely and burn up, and now we're circling back at this point?
Like, is there any other awkward stories I can claim?
See, you tell awkward stories. Are they not somewhat funny, awkward stories?
Because it happened to us, and because they didn't go on for 90 minutes. Except for that one time you guys knocked on my door and I didn't want to answer because I wasn't feeling good. That went on for a good like half hour, I think.
So in real life, awkward is funny. But in fictional movie land world, it's not funny. Is that...
Well, here's the thing. At the time, when I wasn't feeling good, you guys were knocking my door for 30 minutes. That was not... At the time, when you guys were knocking my door for however long it was, and I didn't answer because I wasn't feeling good, that wasn't funny at all. That was just annoying.
Okay. No, I get that. I get that.
So,
okay.
It's one of those things that's amusing in hindsight, which, because it happened to us and haha, wasn't that funny that happened, as compared to a movie where it's like, yeah, no, this is just painful to watch.
So after like 20 years or something, you're remembering one time where we knocked on the door a lot while you weren't feeling well and we didn't go away. You're remembering that 20 years later.
Are you saying that you don't remember random stuff that I did to you 20 years later?
I might. I don't know. Like, it's just surprising. It's fun. It's just... It's surprising because we came over to your house a lot.
Painful memories that the Burbs digs up in me.
Speaking of painful, because we came over a lot to your house. It wasn't like we probably came over several times a week. And so to pick out like one event and all of that, it's a lot. It's heavy.
Well, that's because it was related to what we were talking about. Because because we were talking about kind of circling back around where the tangent started. You were talking about breaking into people's houses, and I thought you guys claimed that you like jumped the fence and tried the back door or something. Which is how I remembered you guys told me the story, but maybe got exaggerated in my mind after years and years.
Yeah, possibly. Okay.
So that's where that conversation started. We say after 10 minutes of talking about that, something like that. I'm sure everyone who is not us and maybe mutual friend are just like, are they still talking about that?
Yeah.
I don't even know if mutual friend listens to the podcast anymore.
He doesn't. He does not. I actually asked him not too long ago. I'm like, have you listened to any? He's like, no. Probably like the one person in the whole universe that might be interested in it, and he doesn't watch it. Oh. That is funny. It's awkward and funny.
Hey, mutual friend's wife. If you're still listening to this podcast, I don't know if you are, we haven't talked recently, but if you're still listening to this podcast, can you ask mutual friend to listen to this part of the podcast and see whose side he comes down on? Because I could have sworn that you meaning Jeff and mutual friend told me these things, and I could just be remembering wrong, but I want, if not even podcast form, I just want mutual friend's input on this.
Okay.
That's your homework assignment to the wife of mutual friend who used to listen to this. I don't know if she still does.
I guess we'll find out. Which I'm sure they don't. Okay, so back to the movie. All right.
Do we have to?
I actually think that this is actually Tom Hanks' best film. I think so. It's the one that I think is the most entertaining for me. What do you think about that comment? Because he's made a lot of stuff. He's a very famous actor, probably one of the most famous of Hollywood, I would say. And this being his best movie, I think that's a huge thing. What is your opinion?
At this point, I really shouldn't be surprised on what you label best movie anymore.
So what is Tom Hanks' best movie? Is it Toy Story? Is it Big? That was a thing. I cannot watch that movie as an adult. I can't. That was such a great movie as a kid. It's a kid who gets to be an adult. I don't think I can handle that from the reverse view. That would be painful.
I don't think I have thought about Big in like the last 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
Holy crap, where did you dig that up from?
Well, obviously, it's connected to Tom Hanks.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe Castaway or something like that. You're like,
oh,
what
Castaway.
About Big?
I guess that was kind of a big movie. See, Castaway isn't rewatchable to me. I watched it once and it was kind of done. And I honestly think it would be kind of fun to be stranded on a desert island. Think about all the conversations you would need to have. That came off too strong. I still love humanity, and I still talk with them, and they give me food through drive-through windows, and I appreciate all that.
Your wife listens to this. It's like, I want to be alone on a desert island forever.
There's a few things about that seem intriguing. The self-dentistry doesn't seem appealing. Because he had to fix his own tooth. That doesn't sound great, but I don't know. There was plenty of coconuts to eat. He had to go fishing. Fishing's kind of fun. Kind of. I guess spearfishing, but goodness. Anyway, yeah, so you think Castaway is a good movie, right? Or did you just randomly bring it up? The point is what is Tom Hanks' favorite movie or best movie that he's ever been in?
I enjoyed Castaway. I'm now bringing up a list of Tom Hanks movies.
Saving Private Ryan was a big one.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would probably say that, or Apollo 13. I think the average human would probably say Apollo 13 is the best movie he's been.
Apollo 13's good.
And that is a really good movie. But this one's fun. The Burbs is just a fun movie, which is why I would pick it for that reason.
I have not seen it in many, many years, so I cannot say this with 100% certainty. But for talking comedies, I think the better Tom Hanks comedy is Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh, that is you know what? You might have derailed my sentence. I might have to concede. Well, no, I don't know. No, I still think The Burbs is funnier than Joe versus Volcano. But that's a close one, because Joe versus Volcano is a good one.
I've not seen Joe versus Volcano in many, many years, and I kind of forgot that it existed until I started looking at this list. But I was like, dude, Joe versus the Volcano.
That is a good one. The beginning of that movie is so good. Anyway,
Holy crap! I'm just looking at this list now. I'm like, there was there was 6 years between the Burbs and Apollo 13.
yeah.
There was 5 years between the Burbs and Gump.
Mm.
Holy crap! That just blows my mind for some reason.
It does?
Yes. How'd you go from the Burbs to like those movies?
Well, he became popular, and so he got some of the best parts. Do you like Forrest Gump? You've seen it, right?
I've only seen it once, and that was in theaters when it came out, so I was like 11. So I don't think that was a movie designed for someone who was 11. I've only seen it the one time, so I cannot say with any kind of certainty what I would think about that movie at this point. But I
It's kind
also
of a
have
movie designed for the baby boomer generation because it goes through some of the times that are really probably nostalgic to them.
pretty much the only thing I know about Forrest Gump is that it has a pretty good soundtrack, like oldies music. But
yeah,
no, I have not seen it since that time, and I have not really had any great desire to watch it again. So take that as you will, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a movie you watch once, not a rewatching movie.
Yeah,
But
now that I'm looking at his filmography, he has a lot of stuff I haven't watched. I don't think I haven't even watched like the last, well, like Toy Story 3. Don't think I even ever watched that. Anyway, what were we talking
or
about?
Toy Story 25, whichever one there's many of those.
I don't know. Do you count like the spin-offs as Toy Story movies, like the Lightyear movie that like no one saw?
Nobody saw Lightyear?
I mean, it flopped, didn't it?
Did it? I
think
don't.
so.
Okay.
At least that's what I heard. Let me. I'm already doing research, so Lightyear.
Yeah, I
movie.
know. I know some people who watched it and said they didn't really care for it.
Lightyear film and production.
It's weird
Marketing
now to see
release.
Pixar movies flopping. That's a whole new weird thing. Because they're usually always popular and great.
Oh, okay. So maybe flop is too strong a term, but I don't think it did as well as it thought. Yeah, it was projected to gross 70 to 85 million in its opening weekend, and only made 50 million in its opening weekend.
Which is not very much. 50 million, that's very low. Yeah, the movie industry itself is struggling right now.
In its second weekend, Lightyear declined 64.1%, making it the second worst sophomore drop for a Pixar film since Onward, which I don't know what that is. So there you go.
Don't even know what it is. Haven't even heard of Onward. I've never heard of Onward either. Wow. I think they did another one called Soul.
Yeah,
that was one. That one didn't seem popular.
I barely say I've heard of that one.
Yeah. Oh, they did one about feelings, like a little girl that has people inside her. That one.
I forget what that one's called, but I know people who like that one.
I thought that one was brilliant. There's a lot of
seen that one.
I don't know if it's completely entertaining as much, but
well, then you must love it.
Yeah, then I must love it. Yeah, I
like
non-entertaining movies.
Sweet. I love non-entertaining movies.
Well, okay. Yes, actually, I do. Some movies that aren't entertaining, but they're movies that have a lot of thought behind them. I really enjoy. And that one was. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. But anyway, it was really good. Well written.
Was it called like Inside Out or something?
Yeah,
like that?
You got it. Inside Out. It has the simplest story, but it's all about how the character learns through experiences. And it's really good. Anyway, talk about
Anyway,
the Burbs.
what are we
the
talking
Burbs.
about?
Yeah. Okay, since you don't like this movie, I'm gonna say what I really like about the movie. This movie, the way that these scenes are put together, it's just my kind of style. I love the dramatic over simple things, and where, like they draw people into a suspicious story, like a scary story about things, and they're trying to scare the audience. The truth is, this movie really isn't all that scary, but the way that they're able to kind of control the feelings of the audience with music and with dialogue and with drawing people in to arrive at like a scene or a punchline or something, it's good. And I do like the thing about Tom Hanks's acting that I always like is that he has a good dramatic emphasis that he always does. Other actors do this too, and it's not as easy to pull off as it looks. But just like wigging out at just a certain moment, and not, and so he always does that. I think that's one of the reasons why I think this is a good movie, because for Tom Hanks, because when the explosion happens in the building and people are like, there's something moving in there, and he emerges and there's this heroic music as he comes out just singed and burnt, and he walks out and stumbles out. It's a great scene. I really like it.
Okay, yeah, that was other thing that kind of made me laugh was him kind of sliding down the stairs during that part. That was the other thing that kind of made me chuckle in this movie.
Yeah, it's a really great part. And the other thing is when he's talking to Art, and he says, "What, do you want me to move?" He like completely yells at Art and finally gets everything that he's feeling straight off his chest and tells him exactly that this whole thing is his fault. He has been constantly coaxing into this concept that is completely wrong about this family, and he just lays into him. And Art, of course, being Art, he just doesn't quite understand. He's like, what, you want me to move? And then they attack, and Art bites his finger, of all things. I've always laughed at that scene. Anyway, because it's awkward. It's awkward. It's people being, yeah, that's what I'll say. People being people. Like, oh, of all the things you would do when somebody's attacking you, you bite their finger to get them off. I don't know. You may not like it. I get it, but there's something about it that I think is hilarious.
Like I said, if you're a fan of awkward comedy, then this is going to be your jam. If not, it's not going to be, and I apparently am not.
There's another great scene is where they finally go in to meet this family, and they're served like sardines and pretzels. And I've been in that situation before where you're meeting with people and you're trying to be nice and they bring out something that you just don't want to eat. It's like, I've been there before. So that scene to me is just hilarious. And of course his wife is like, yeah, you should eat it. And so he has to. That's something that people who are not married may not understand. But like when your wife nods to you for something, it's like you have to do it. Like you're given an instruction, you have to follow through with it. So I always think it's funny because like Ray knows the moment that his wife Carol looks at him like that, he's got to eat this fish. Anyway, oh, it's good. It's good. Yep, I'm just gonna sit, talk on this podcast and laugh by myself. It's all right. It's fine.
It's okay. The rest, now that I think back what we've talked about, we've been terribly on theme because I think this whole podcast has just been kind of awkward.
We've been on theme the whole time.
We've been on theme.
Speaking of awkward.
Speaking of not liking things are awkward, it's an entire episode.
Okay. You know, most comedy is awkward stuff. A lot of it is. There was a quote from the guy who played Egon on Ghostbusters. I don't know his name because I'm terrible at famous people's names. But he mentioned that humor was all about being irreverent. It was about that. And awkwardness is a good branch of that whole thing. How comedy is doing something that is both correct but at the same time doesn't belong. And if you can get those two concepts to kind of line up where it's both true and untrue at the same time, it's both plausible but completely absurd all at the same time, then you've hit comedy. I think that's the world according to Jeff. You still there?
Yeah, I've seen how long I could make the awkward silence last.
That was an awkward silence test.
Awkward silence. You like awkward, huh?
Yeah.
I'll sit here and
Obviously,
mute my
in
mic,
that
see how long it
conversation,
lasts.
that was the perfect moment for an awkward silence test. All right, I'm going to be quiet to see what happens when there's complete and total silence.
I hear you like awkward. Okay.
All right, so have we talked about it enough? We haven't really said much, but I think that's probably for a reason.
Well,
There's got to be a movie that I hate and you like.
I have a couple of ideas, but
No, I don't mean to alienate people, but I do like anime, but I have to admit I'm very selective about it. So if you're going to find something, it's probably going to be an anime show that you love but I don't like. 'Cause it's hard because some anime I really like, but a lot of it I can't get into.
the one that I was thinking of was not anime, but I am not going to unleash that one upon you yet. I had thought about it a few times, but not yet.
Not yet.
Plus, I think I'm like the only person in the face of the world that likes that particular movie, so I don't think that really counts, because like I said, The Burbs seems to be, I think it's sort of the definition of a cult classic. There's people who love it, but it's not for everyone.
So
Except-
who are the
except-
kinds of people that would like this movie?
You.
Don't say that. No one will watch it.
And well, at least a good portion of our friend group back in high school, back in the day. I mean, I link this movie in my head with another comedy that everyone else in the friend group was like super hype about, but I have fonder memories about it more than The Burbs, but that also might be because I had to watch it more times because of you people than The Burbs, the Hudsucker Proxy.
One of my favorites.
I remember more about the Hudsucker Proxy than I did The Burbs, so I remember kind of liking the Hudsucker Proxy, but y'all loved the Hudsucker Proxy.
Yes, you're right. We all loved it. And you kind of liked it.
It was okay. At the very least, there was more than one scene in the Hudsucker Proxy that made me laugh. So it's better than The Burbs in that regard. I was honestly expecting you to inflict the Hudsucker Proxy on me sooner or later, but instead you did The Burbs.
I know. I do want to review the Hudsucker Proxy. That's a good one. Okay, well, we'll never find this movie category because there's just no movie existing that you like and I hate. It doesn't work. But I have very specific hate criteria for movies.
I have at least one idea that might work, but I'm gonna hang on to that.
Okay. So, you don't recommend it. I recommend it. I guess people just have to go away confused. But
if you like awkward comedy, go for it. If you don't, skip it. That simple.
All right, BJ. I think we've done enough damage to the universe at this point.
Can we just... I know I'm the one that says, nope, we said it's going on. I'm like, there's a good 75%. of this podcast that I wish I could take back. But I must abide by my own rules.
Yes, you must. Especially if you make me abide by them, then you absolutely must.
It's going to be... I hate awkward, so I made this podcast. It's going to be super awkward for me to edit. Great. I did it myself, huh? Okay. Anything else positive you want to say about the Burbs? Because I've spent the majority of the time dunking on it, so I will let you... I would prefer to go on a light note, so say something good about the Burbs, Jeff.
This movie makes you think that perhaps living in suburbia is not so bad. Laughing at my own joke. I'm going to be honest. Suburban life, nothing against it, but it definitely has its moments of plainness and normalcy where you're mowing your lawn for the 800th time. And I totally get that. This movie makes fun of that, and it does it so well. And I think a lot of people can relate to the feelings people have in this film of just being kind of stuck in a normal place, but looking for something different, and perhaps finding it, which wasn't a good idea in the first place, to find something dramatic like that. So it's fun. I think people can relate to the people in this movie, and they can kind of see, they can understand how they go a little crazy. And I think clowns, now I have to talk about this thing that you probably don't want me to mention, but when you think about clowns from the 1800s, they have exaggerated clothing, and they have makeup that looks absurd from a stage, like if you're looking at them from far away. Up close, the clowns look more strange. But when you consider the fact that they're really stage performers and not really made for movies and stuff, more understandable why their makeup is outlandish. But there was a time in the 1800s when clowns were really the apex of comedy. And I think that there's a piece of that in modern comedy where the clown is a person that you would understand, but they're exaggerated. Like Art is a person like you would meet. It's just that all of his faults are exaggerated. And
I thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about like the concept of art.
Oh, art, so, as in
like art to person,
no.
Like art. I'm like, oh, it's like, why is Jeff about to start waxing on about art? You're talking about the character. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Art. Also, the other guy. Yeah, all of the characters. It, like even the Homer Simpson character. Homer Simpson is a person, completely exaggerated into the absurd. But there's pieces of truth in how he acts and how he's self-centered and all of that. And that's what a clown is to me. You have the traditional clowns, but then you have the modern equivalent of clowns. And this movie has good clowns in it. Art he's funny. He's that paranoid neighbor that is just looking for conspiracy theories and everything. And he's just drawn to the most absurd things. And he's not into rational stuff. Yeah, it's real fun. So I definitely enjoy this movie. It's definitely a good one. It's in my top 100, definitely.
Okay.
Hold on. Just wait, I'm almost done.
Okay. On that note, we're going to finish, I guess. I was going to see how long the awkward time would last again, but then you got interrupted, so...
Yeah.
We are on the time limit today, and I think this is one of our longest recordings in a while, which is wild, because I thought it was going to be less than an hour, but here we are. Okay, so, Jeff recommends it, I don't. We ended on what I thought was going to be a positive note, ended up being a monologue about clowns, so there you go. Welcome to the podcast.
Yep, thanks everyone.
Oh, this one's a train wreck.
Are you still recording?
Yes, I'm still recording. We haven't ended yet.
Oh.
Did I say the closing line? No?
Well, I don't...
It's still...
I mean, this protocol is hard to follow, you know?
Wait, did you stop recording?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Which is
That
why
is-
I asked, because I'm like, should I stop? I don't want to stop unless BJ stops.
Okay. So, thank you for listening to Wander Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ. With me was Jeff. We'll see you next time. That's it. That's your cue to stop recording, Jeff.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording because the social cue has appeared now, and I can follow it to completion now that it is present within the conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.